Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
I'm Gary Franchi in the White House briefing room, and what a day it has been. If you've been following our coverage today, you know we brought you story after story that the mainstream media either buried, distorted, or flat out refused to cover. From military dominance abroad to corruption exposed at home, from the moon to the microscope, today was one for the history books. So let me walk you through everything we cover, because when you see it all together, one thing becomes crystal clear. This administration is not slowing down, and here's why today matters. See, we're living through a period where more is happening in a single day than used to happen in an entire congressional session. And if you're only watching the mainstream media, you're getting maybe 10% of the real story. The other 90%, that's what we do here. And today alone, we covered national security, government accountability, judicial overreach, historic space exploration, a public health crisis, and political corruption at the highest levels. Every single one of these stories affects your life, your family, and your future. So let me bring it all together. Let's start overseas, where American military power is rewriting the map. Operation Epic Fury is delivering results that no president in 50 years has achieved. Iran's nuclear dreams are over. Their Navy isn't sailing, their aircraft aren't flying, their air defenses are destroyed, and President Trump confirmed that the regime's original leaders are all dead. In just over 30 days, this administration did what Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Biden would not do. They eliminated the threat. Super Hornets are still launching from the USS Abraham Lincoln around the clock, and the president's message to Tehran: back to the Stone Age where they belong. That's not diplomacy, that's a promise kept. Now back here at home, Democrats, they spent the day proving exactly who they are. We showed you how they use procedural tricks to defund ICE civilian staff, the backbone of our border security, without even having a majority in either chamber. Now, these patriots could go without paychecks until June. The Senate went on vacation, the House gavelled out in seconds, and when President Trump stepped in with an executive order to pay those workers himself, Chuck Schumer's response was one word: no. He couldn't give the president a single word of credit for fixing the mess that his party created. Meanwhile, ICE agents, the very people Democrats want to abolish, were out at airports handing water bottles to families stranded by the DHS shutdown that Democrats caused. Let that sink in. Then there's the judiciary. An Obama-appointed judge tried to block President Trump from building a privately funded ballroom at this White House. A ballroom. No taxpayer dollars. You see, FDR got his pool, Obama got his basketball court, but Trump, he gets lawsuits. The president's response was perfect. I'm such a king, I can't even get a ballroom approved? And legal analysts are now saying he should ignore the ruling entirely. And they're right. This is Trump derangement syndrome from the bench. And on the accountability front, the DOJ got a major shakeup. President Trump fired Attorney General Pam Bondi and sent a message that echoed through every corridor of power in Washington. Results matter. Bondi moved mountains on the Epstein files, 3 million documents when Biden released zero, but the American people demanded prosecutions, not just transparency. Todd Blanche is now interim AG, a man who said at CPAC, keep putting the pressure on. And Lee Zeldin is in the conversation for permanent replacement. The deep state should be very nervous. And speaking of accountability, federal agents kicked in doors in California today in what may be the biggest fraud bust in American history. $24 billion meant for homeless Americans stolen, fake bank statements, Beverly Hills fraudsters living large while veterans slept under bridges. Vice President Vance just swore in Colin McDonald as the new fraud enforcement chief with a mandate to pursue every case, big or small. The swamp creatures thought they were untouchable. Well, not anymore. And if it wasn't corruption making the news, we covered the birthright citizenship battle, where even Stephen A. Smith admitted the system is broken. Constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley called the current practice perfectly insane and an existential threat. Foreign adversaries have built entire companies around exploiting this loophole, and the Supreme Court is about to weigh in. And now for the story that made every American proud today. After 54 years of bureaucratic failure, Artemis II is screaming towards the moon with American heroes on board. NASA Chief Jared Isaacman called it a brief 54-year intermission. A pilot mid-flight over Florida rerouted his entire aircraft so passengers could watch the launch, and he said he'd waited 15 years for that moment. This is Trump's NASA. This is American greatness. We also brought you a health bombshell. 100% of placentas tested contained microplastics. Your children are being contaminated before they're even born. RFK Jr. announced a $103 million initiative to measure, understand, and remove these toxins from the human body, and EPA Administrator Zeldin designated microplastics as a priority containment for the first time in program history. The Biden administration ignored this for years. This administration is taking action. And finally, Eric Swalwell, the man who spent years calling Trump a Russian agent, is now in full panic mode because the FBI Director Kash Patel is about to release the Fang Fang files. Multiple women are coming forward with allegations of predatory behavior. NDAs to silence staffers, and Victor Davis Hanson, who Fang Fang also approached, said he'd have to be a stupid, narcissistic idiot to fall for her trap. This is the man who's running for governor of California, by the way, and the chickens have come home to roost. So step back and look at the full picture of what happened today. American military dominance ending a 50-year threat in the Middle East, a moon mission proving that we're the greatest nation on earth, a fraud crackdown putting handcuffs on people who stole from the homeless, a DOJ shakeup demanding results, Democrats exposed for sabotaging border security and punishing the workers who protect us, judicial activists trying to control the president's own house, a health crisis finally being addressed after years of neglect, and political corruption dragged into the light for all to see. That is one day under President Trump, just one day. And they want you to believe that this administration isn't delivering? Folks, this is why we do what we do every single day from this White House briefing room. We bring you the stories the mainstream media refuses to tell. Today was a perfect example. While they obsessed over manufactured scandals, we covered 10 major stories that directly impact your life, your family, and your country. And tomorrow we will be right back here doing it again. If today's coverage showed you something you wouldn't have seen anywhere else, share this video and send it to everyone you know. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, because we're only getting started. The world is watching, history is being made, and you are getting the real story. Front row right here. I'm Gary Franchi at the White House. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and as always, stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.